Hello, we are back
Hi.
doing another day of our Anne Catherine, our Be Holy for I Am Holy book club. And we're doing the visions of Anne Catherine Emmerich still. And we're going to be doing them for a while because this book is very, very big. This book has like 2,000 pages and we're like, what?
Yeah, but we already have read 20% of this book. We've read 469 of the 2394,
Wow, that's good.
right?
Good, yeah.
So today
Okay.
we have two, right? Jesus with
Yes, we're
Eliud.
going to do two because the Jesus and Eliud in the leper settlement is very, very short. So we're gonna do two today. And Jesus has still not gotten there to get baptized yet. So he's still en route, right?
Yeah, but these two are good that we're doing this morning.
Yes, yes. So
Yay. Okay.
and these visions have been approved by the Catholic Church. In 2004, she was beatified. Anne Catherine Emmerich was by Pope John Paul II. So she is in good standing order with the Catholic Church.
Right.
So here we go. I saw Jesus journeying with Eliud in a southwesterly direction from Nazareth, but not exactly on the high road. He wanted to go to Chim, a leopard settlement. They reached it at daybreak, and I saw that Eliud tried to restrain Jesus from entering it, that he might not be defiled. For as Eliud urged it, if it were discovered that he had been there, he would not be allowed to go to the baptism. But Jesus replied that he knew his mission, that he would enter, for there was in it a good man who was sighing for his coming. And
They had to cross the Kishon. The leper settlement lay near a brook formed by the waters of the Kishon, which flowed into a little pond in which the lepers bathed. The water thus used did not return into the Kishon. This settlement was perfectly isolated. No one ever approached it. The lepers dwelt in scattered huts. There were no others in the place excepting those that attended the infected. Eliud remained at a distance and waited for the Lord. Jesus entered one of the most remote huts, wherein lay stretched on the ground a miserable creature entirely enveloped in sheets. He was a good man. I have forgotten how he contracted leprosy. Jesus addressed him. He raised himself and appeared to be deeply touched at the Lord's deigning to visit him. Jesus commanded him to rise and stretch himself in a trough of water that stood near the hut. He obeyed while Jesus held his hands extended over the water. The rigid limbs of the leper relaxed and he was made clean. He then resumed his ordinary dress, and Jesus commanded him not to speak of his cure until he should have returned from the baptism. He accompanied Jesus and Eliud along the road until Jesus ordered him to go back. I saw Jesus and Eliud the whole day journeying toward the south through the valley of Esdraelon. Sometimes they converse together, at others walk apart as if in prayer and meditation. The weather was not very pleasant at that time. The sky dark and fog in the valley. Jesus had no stick. He never carried one, but Eliud had one with a little shovel on it like those of the shepherds. Jesus wore only sandals, though a kind of perfect shoe consisting of a thick woven upper of coarse cotton was in use at the time. Once I saw Jesus and Eliud at noon resting by a well and eating bread. And then we begin Jesus transfigured before Eliud. Jeanette, do you want to read some on this?
Sure. During the night, I saw them again walking, sometimes together, sometimes separate. And then I witnessed something extraordinary, an unspeakable, lovely vision. While Jesus was walking while Jesus was walking on ahead, Eliud passed some remarks upon the symmetry and beauty of his person. Jesus replied, "If thou shouldest behold this body 2 years hence, thou wouldest find in it neither beauty nor symmetry. So greatly will they abuse and maltreat." But Eliud understood not his words. Above all, he could not comprehend why Jesus always spoke of his kingdom and existing so short a time. For he thought 10 or even 20 years must elapse before it would be founded. 10.
He could not bring himself to think otherwise, since his thoughts were all of an earthly kingdom. So when they had gone on a short distance, Jesus paused and bade Eliud, who was following lost in thought, to approach, and he would show him who he was, of what nature was his body, and of what kind his kingdom. Eliud drew near to within several steps of Jesus. Then Jesus raised his eyes to heaven and prayed. A cloud, like those seen in a thunderstorm, descended and enveloped both. From without they could not be seen, but over them opened a heaven of light, which seemed to descend toward them. Above, I saw a city of shining walls. I saw the heavenly Jerusalem. The whole interior was lit up with a rainbow-colored light. I saw the figure like God the Father and Jesus, his form perfectly luminous and transparent, connected with him by beams of light. Eliud stood a while gazing upward, as if entranced, and then sank prostrate on his face, in which position he remained until the apparition and light had melted away. Then Jesus resumed his way, and Eliud followed, speechless and frightened by what he had seen. It was a vision like the Transfiguration, but I did not see Jesus lifted up. I think Eliud did not live to see the crucifixion of Christ. Jesus was more confidential toward him than toward the apostles, for Eliud was very enlightened and very familiar with the many of the mysteries connected with the family of Jesus. Jesus took him as a friend and companion and clothed him with authority, so that he did much for his community. He was one of the best instructed of the Essenians. In Jesus's time, the Essenians did not dwell all together on the mountains as formerly. They were more scattered throughout the cities. I had that wonderful vision about 12 o'clock at night. In the morning, I saw Jesus and Eliud arrive at a shepherd field. It was daybreak, and the shepherds were already out of their huts and with the cattle. They came forward to meet Jesus, who was known to them. They cast themselves down before him and led him and his companion under a shed where they had their cooking utensils. Here they washed their feet, prepared for them a couch, and set before them bread and little drinking cups. They roasted some turtle doves for their guests. The birds had their nests in the roof of the huts and were hopping around in great numbers like hens. And now I saw Jesus dismissing Eliud, who knelt to receive his blessing. The shepherds were present. Jesus told him that he would end his days in peace, that the path which he himself had to walk would be difficult for him, that he admitted him to his community, that he had already done his part in the vineyard, and that he should receive his reward in his kingdom. Jesus explained this by a parable of the laborers in the vineyards. Eliud was very grave since the vision of the preceding night, very silent and deeply impressed. I think he was afterward baptized by the disciples. He accompanied Jesus a part of the way from Shepherd Field. The Lord embraced him, and he departed with signs of manly emotion. The place to which Jesus was going for the Sabbath could be seen from here. Some of his relatives once dwelt there. The place to which he now went alone was called Gur. It was built on a mountain. Joseph's brother, who afterward removed to Zabulon, and who had frequent communication with the Holy Family, once dwelt there. Jesus went unnoticed to an inn where he washed his feet and presented him with food. He had a chamber to himself. He caused a roll of the scriptures to be brought to him from the synagogue, and out of it he read and prayed, some standing, sometimes kneeling, sometimes standing, sometimes kneeling, often raising his eyes toward heaven. He did not go to the school. Once I saw some people going to the inn and asking to speak to Jesus, but he would not see them. So it looks like here is the end, and they're going to the fourth station where Jesus meets his mother. And at a glance, the disciples going to the baptism. So we are like at right there. He can actually see it. So this is a pretty quick reading that we're going to go over this morning, guys. Basically, Jesus with Eliud in the leper settlement. They reached there at daybreak. He saw Eliud trying to restrain Jesus from entering. He was worried about him. Well, Jesus doesn't have to worry about getting infected. He is, after all, God. Eliud said if it were discovered that Jesus had been there, he wouldn't be allowed to go to the baptism. So that's what he was worried about. But Jesus said, I know my mission, and I will be entering, and that there was in it a good man who was sighing for his coming. So he knew someone was waiting for him. They had to cross the Kishon, and the leper settlement lay at the brook, formed the waters. So there was a little pond in where the lepers bathed, and the settlement was isolated. No one ever approached it. But here's Jesus, and Eliud said, I'll wait back over here. Jesus entered, and he saw the miserable creature entirely enveloped in sheets. He said he was a good man. And or she said he was a good man, and she didn't know how he contracted it, but Jesus addressed him, raised him, was touched. The man was touched, and Jesus said, get up and walk, and stretched himself in a trough of water. So he obeyed, and Jesus held his hands extended over the water. Notice he's using water again, sometimes mud, sometimes water. And all of a sudden he relaxed and he was made clean. And then Jesus resumed his ordinary dress. Jesus commanded him not to tell anyone, and he should until he has returned from baptism. So he went along with Jesus and Eliud along the road. So Eliud wasn't afraid of him, apparently, and Jesus told him to go back. So he saw Jesus and Eliud the whole day journeying toward the south. Seems like it's so close that they can see it. But sometimes they converse, and other times they walk apart. They're walking and praying and meditating. The weather wasn't pleasant. It was dark and foggy. Jesus had no stick. He never carried one. He didn't need it. He was God. But Eliud had one with a little shovel. And Jesus only wore sandals with the perfect toe consisting of the upper coarse cotton. So once she saw Jesus and Eliud at noon resting by a well and eating bread. So that was a nice, quick, little, beautiful thing where he just healed someone and moved on, Jeanette. He's like, I'm not worried about infection. I'm God. So there we go, right? And Eliud's like, no, 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 no. And he's like, don't worry, I got it. I got it. Get up, rise and walk. You're healed and don't tell anyone. It's like, this is like the way he does. And so then he transfigures before Eliud. And that was amazing. And here he's like, Jesus is talking about his kingdom. And he's thinking, oh, 10 or 20 years are going to elapse, but it didn't seem to be. But Eliud was not going to be around. It was like, nope, he's not going to be here. But Jesus was like letting him see his glory before. He's letting him see the shining walls, heavenly Jerusalem, the whole interior's lit and rainbow colored light. Jeanette, so apparently he does a transfiguration before, we see it in the Gospels. So this was surprising to me. Was it surprising to you?
Well, there's so much. There's so much that's not in the Bible.
Yeah.
So this is just one of those times, which I'm sure there are others that we don't know about, that, for certain special people and in certain situations, I'm sure he's done this before as well.
Yep.
I think this is not the first or the last before the actual one that's in the Bible that gets done. So
remember we learned.
Yeah, it's in the Bible. It says, if we were to put everything that Jesus did in the Bible, it would not be
transfiguration, like, wow. But did you remember when we learned from Taylor Marshall classes about the body is like he could do this at any time. So I guess he was giving this as a consolation to Eliud, knowing that it seemed he's preparing Eliud for his death here. He's saying, listen, you're not going to be here. So he gives him a little glimpse, which was kind of beautiful,
To me, a miracle like a healing is just equal to a transfiguration of our Lord to me, because what he does, that, the people he heals, that people don't see it. People don't see what he did. I mean, he's God. How could anybody heal somebody with leprosy like that? How could anybody heal someone even without being there? Just telling them to go dip themselves in the ocean a few times or in the river. That one Roman soldier that had that faith that he said, seriously, that's a joke. No, do it. And so he did it. And
well, remember, so he created the world by his word. So when his word told him to go do something, it's different than him going on his own initiation. He spoke his word. Jesus's word is living, and it's
God's
healing. Yeah. Jesus's word, Jesus is God. So when Jesus's words come out, that's God, and he created the whole world with his word. So, why not a healing, right?
Yes.
So that's amazing. Yeah. So she says Eliud did not live to see the crucifixion. So, he's about to be baptized. That's 3 years is the crucifixion from when he's baptized. So that means Eliud is about to die within those 3 years. So it says here, which Jeanette, did you see this part? Jesus was more confidential toward him than toward the apostles, for Eliud was very enlightened. So Eliud is highly spiritually you know, developed. So
he was able to trust so much to him because he knew that he had the comprehension to understand it, but not as far as to not be scared about going into a leopard camp with
right.
Not,
he was
still
close.
human.
He was close, but not quite.
He was still very.
But not
I would be
quite
like
there.
him.
Yeah. And he said he was very familiar with the many mysteries connected with the family of Jesus. So Jesus took him as a friend companion, not just his like follower. They're saying it's his friend. So it's like he's yeah, and he clothed him with authority so that he did much for his community. So he was sort of, it said he was one of the best instructed of the Essenians. So he's of the same people of Jesus's mother, the Essenians. And in Jesus's time, the Essenians didn't dwell all together in the mountains as formerly. They were more scattered. And she had that wonderful vision about 12 o'clock at night. So in the morning, she sees Jesus and Eliud arrive at a shepherd field. It was daybreak. The shepherds were already out of their huts, and they come forward to meet him, and they throw themselves down, and they're like, here are cooking utensils. They washed their feet, prepared them on the couch, set them before bread and little drinking cups. They had food there, turtle doves, and there was plenty of food around, the birds, and the shepherds were present. Jesus told them he'd end his days in peace. He's telling Eliud the path that he was going to go on was difficult, but that Eliud was going to die in peace. Jesus was not so much going to die that way. So he was warning him, not only would he be there, but at least he would end his days in peace, but that Jesus himself wouldn't. And he gave him the same parable about the vineyard. So he's explaining the labors, and there's not enough laborers in the vineyard. And Eliud was grave since the vision of the preceding night and silent. And he was a little depressed. I mean, I would be too, hearing I'm about to die. Jesus just told him, you're going to die in peace, but you're about to die. That would be a little scary. You won't get to see my kingdom. And, that would be a little disappointing, Jeanette, right? In their minds, they're thinking of the kingdom as, oh, everything's going to be wonderful. Well, you're going to die, but don't worry, you're going to die in peace. So I can understand why he's a little depressed.
Oh, what do you mean, see the kingdom? He's going to go to heaven.
Yeah, he's saying you're going to get your reward in his kingdom, but he's saying you're not going to see it on earth here. And so he was silent and depressed because he just was told he's going to die. Look how you freak out when your mom just talks about it. Imagine if
I couldn't sleep last night thinking about it. Oh gosh.
Yeah, we had just talked about that before camera. Jeanette was, she worries about her mom. And so then look, she says, I think he was after we're baptized by the disciples. They literally can see it from where they're standing. So he accompanied Jesus part of the way from the shepherd field, and they hugged, and he departed with signs of manly emotion. So apparently they don't cry, but they're manly emotion. I don't know what that means. Like, but
okay, bro, we got this.
Yo, bro. Yeah, there you go. Yo, bro. So it says the place to which Jesus was going for the Sabbath could be seen from here, and his relatives once dwelt there, a place to which he now went alone called Gur. So I guess no, they can't see where he's going to be baptized. They could see where he's going to be go for the Sabbath. Okay, I misunderstood that. I apologize. It was built on a mountain. Joseph's brother, who afterward removed from Zabulon, who had frequent communication, once dwelt there. Oh, for Joseph's brother. So Jesus went unnoticed to the inn. They washed his feet, gave him food, and then he has the scriptures brought to him from the synagogue. I can't believe they just let him take it out. He read and prayed, standing, kneeling, raising his eyes to heaven. He didn't go to the school. And some of the people went to the inn asking to speak to Jesus, but he wouldn't see them. It's like he's getting ready to go to that baptism. So this was a quick reading between the two of them, but also very beautiful. And look, now we have the fourth station coming next. There was a beautiful picture here with Jesus and the thing. Let me see if I can refresh it and see it. See if it'll pop up real quick. There we go. Meets Jesus with the cross. I don't know why, but
yeah, I'm confused why that's in the middle of this, because this hasn't even gone to the baptism yet.
Right. So here it says a glance at the disciples going to the baptism. So this is we're going to be reading this our next time. It's only 2 pages, so we'll be doing 2 again next week. And it looks like they're almost there, Jeanette. They're
there's still quite a few readings before the actual baptism. There's like maybe 5 or 6 more.
Well, so we'll be doing 2 on what is it, Friday? Be doing 2 this Friday. Okay.
So maybe by the end of next week we'll get to the baptism.
Yeah. So, well, not by the end. Oh, the end of the following week. Yeah, gotcha. Okay. All right, guys. Well, it was a quick one. We hope that you got a lot from that. I certainly did. It was interesting.
Especially the transfiguration of Jesus.
I know, right?
That was something that we weren't expecting. So
yeah, another healing. Wow. Okay, guys. We will see you next Friday. Bye.
This Friday.
I mean, this Friday. I'm sorry.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.